You got it. Okay, here we go.
I just realized that.
There she is.
Call to order the regular meeting of Independent School District 695, Chisholm, Minnesota. Roll call, please.
Director Rhonda Sauter,
Here.
Director Rice.
Here.
Director Patty Simon.
Here.
Director Lappy.
Here.
Director Rada.
Here.
And Chair Casey.
Here. Anybody in the audience that would like to address the board? No? Okay. You're fine. At this time, we have our recognitions of guests and visitors, and we have Shelby. Shelby, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
And it is Shelby, right?
Yes, it is. Can you hear me?
Okay. Shelby, we do have we have a little sheet that I believe you sent.
Great.
So we are ready for you at any time.
All right. Well, thanks for having me online. The kids are on spring break, so I think I probably drove up and to Chisholm and back like 4 times today with all the running around I did. So, so I think, just to kind of set the stage a little bit on the Northland Learning Center, what we were asked to do is to take a look at what it would cost to for the portion that you'll be financing for the building project, and then to put that in terms of a potential tax impact in a future levy. And so the latest document you have gives a little bit of a context around what you're already levying for the James Madison building, and then what you would be levying additional for a new building for the Northland Learning Center. So the Northland Learning Center overall is looking at a larger building project that's going to be funded in part by some funding by the IRRR. And then there'll be a financing component. So the NLC would issue lease purchase financing and then allocate that cost of the payment out to the member districts. So you're currently, for instance, levying for the James Madison building for the cost of the lease, but then not levying for the utilities. So what a new financing would do for a portion of the new building or whatever the NLC does decide is to allocate a portion to you for the actual financing lease costs. And then you would have to then also absorb, like you're already doing, the utility costs. So the document in front of you is meant to represent then the reduction due to the portion on the taxes for the James Madison building that is just the lease. So that presumably then would come off the taxes, and then you would have the financing component of the James Madison building, or excuse me, of a new building or a new project come on. And so I think the other things to illustrate here in this is that it may not all happen in sync, just because of the timing of a building project and how they would like to proceed. You may in 2025 so when you set up your levy in taxes payable 2025, you would have to be, or what NLC is going to do is put the lease component on, or your allocated portion for the James Madison. And then at that time, we may have a small financing component. So there may be a little bit of a year of overlap. Then in a following year, when you're out of the James Madison building, or when NLC is out of the James Madison building, that $19 on a $200,000 home would come off while the $26 comes on. So that net then would be the increase over and above what you're currently levying for the NLC building at James Madison. This is a levy spread on all of your tax base, and different from any school building bonds. It's not eligible for the ag credit. So to the extent that those ag owners are benefiting from some of the projects that you've already done, this would not be part of that. So so you can see on the homestead, the 32 cents on a $6,000 acre, or maybe a little less, the 22 cents on a 4,000 would come off, and 30 cents would come on a per acre basis. So that kind of sets the stage. I think you probably have some more questions, and I'm happy to answer those or go, Mark, if you want me to kind of sort of go in a different direction and cover anything else, I'm happy to do that.
Any board?
Well-
I have a question from the board.
What you're saying is that in 2025, for those two will be total, you'll pay the 19 plus the 26. That's
So
what
we're-
the homeowners are gonna be getting?
So we're still working through the overall funding. So
Okay,
because you have to, because you have the $10.6 million from the IRRR, the intent would be to use all of that first. So we may put on, enough to cover a small interest payment for instance. So I think the intent would be to try and minimize that overlap of the year that it's double. And I think I should also add is that you are getting $65, or you are now getting, as of last year, pay 24, $65 per pupil for a co-op. And then you can use your regular lease levy authority of that 212 to cover the payment too. However, you can at any time lower the levy and just pay for it out of general funds as well. So you can mitigate any some of that overlap if we get to that point, and there is some.
Any other questions?
I have, I'm a confused man. Okay, I guess, is there a construction timeline on this?
So the intention of where the process that we're in right now is the superintendents are representatives on the NLC board. And so as a board, you are directing each of your superintendents to go back to the NLC and establish what the overall project will be. So we're looking at in terms right now of how much the threshold financing would be. They're going to go back to the NLC board, reconvene, determine the project, and at that point, we'll fine-tune the construction schedule. I think overall, if you just kind of what we received from ICS, the construction managers on the project would be sort of any type of project design would be this summer and fall of 24. Bidding in the winter, construction would begin in May of 25, and then construction would be complete July 1 of 2026.
Okay.
So depending on how much construction needs to happen when you need that remaining, when the NLC needs the remaining $6 million, that is the tax impact in front of you right now, there may be a small portion that goes on the 2025 levy.
So my understanding is that there's land available from the city of Mountain Iron. Am I correct?
That's my understanding as well. Yes.
Okay. So my question is it being donated or is it being charged?
Both. There's 2 plots of land, correct?
Yeah.
There's 2 plots. Mountain Iron would donate the one, if the NLC board bought the other.
Okay. So $34,000 of this goes to maintenance of this, not a bond, of this tax increase. It goes to maintenance of the buildings, am I correct?
So right now, the James Madison lease is,
You're talking the current one?
Hmm?
The current lease?
Yeah.
Yeah, 34,000.
Okay. So then if we approve this to go ahead, $34,000 for maintenance for a brand new building? I'm not
so,
understanding that part.
okay, so the lease the payment, or let's see, the allocation to Chisholm right now is about 48,000. of which 34 goes to the actual just leasing of the space. The remainder is utilities and operations. That is meant to just cover that. So presumably that would just stay as is, that you're covering out. You cannot levy for that. You can't levy for operations and maintenance.
Yeah.
And that would presumably just stay the allocation as is for a new building or this. The portion that's coming on in terms of the financing, or that $26 on a $200,000 home, that would just be for the financing.
Okay, okay. So the site that they're gonna build this at, which is just off of Highway 102 in Mountain Iron. Who's gonna own this building?
So the way that the financing works for this type of financing is the NLC would own the land underneath. They would ground lease. This is how all of the school financing works this way for a lease levy. They would ground lease to the certificate holders, who would then, the trustee actually owns the building until it's paid off, or that portion of it. And then when it's paid off, it transfers immediately over to the NLC. And so the NLC would own the building. Upon dissolution of the NLC, or how these are all set up and how it's currently set up as the JPAs, if NLC were to ever dissolve, you would all, as member districts, get your allocated portion of the asset.
Say that again. If the NLC were to dissolve, what? I
Then
missed that.
all the member districts get their allocated portion of the asset. So upon sale, you would all get your equivalent allocation.
Any other questions? I do have one question is, I know these are rough figures on the annual impact, but is this like a floating index? Let's just say one district decided to opt out of the program. Let's just say International Falls, just due to their distance away from everything. Then at that point, let's say they drop out, does everybody else's portion then go up, whether it's now or 5 years from now?
So the way these are typically written, or what the attorney is going to want to see as part of the amended JPA, is during the term of the financing, you would, as member districts, not be able to withdraw. So that secures the financing to some degree. And then right now, the allocation for the member districts is based on per pupil. And so depending on if there's sort of one person goes up, another person goes down, there may be slight differences in how it's allocated among the member districts. I think the larger piece of it is that when once the financing is set and the allocation is set, the tax impact may change depending on how much you authorize per pupil. So your $65 per pupil, if your pupils drop and you no longer have the portion of the $65 generated through a levy, you may then tap into the 212, or you could offset it with your general fund.
So in essence, the cost would stay the same, but it's just that you're allowed a different avenue of where the revenue would come from.
Yeah.
Correct?
That's my, nothing is set in stone yet in how the financing has been written as part of the amended JPA. But that is my understanding, is that we're allocating now based on what the NLC is currently levying or currently allocating.
So help me get my thoughts straight, Shelby. So we're paying 47,000 and then some change, whatever, I don't know the exact figure, but 47,000 something. That number's not gonna change, correct? What might change is if our enrollment goes down, some of that might have to come out of the general fund,
As to where
slightly.
we gotta build.
You know, unless our enrollment goes down, it wouldn't be a whole lot, unless our enrollment's down to 300 versus, you know, what it is now, yeah, then it would be a chunk, but it shouldn't change, but it would never be more than 47.
So it's based upon the 20-year life of the financing.
Yeah.
Our amount stays the same because nobody can opt out.
Mhm.
It's just that if our enrollment goes down or the number of people that we send over there drops below, what did you say, 65 or something like that,
Mhm.
we have the option to take the other financing from different pools.
Yes.
Any other questions for Shelby? You have anything else, Shelby?
I do not. I'm happy to be a resource if you want to extend any other questions through Mark or otherwise.
Okay. Mark?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That puts me a little more at ease because everybody's
Yeah,
locked in for 20 years, the length of the financing.
yeah, I did do I don't know, I didn't mean to interrupt you, sorry. I did that to Jackie already, that's a, I'm on a
My
roll
wife
today.
was sitting next to me.
Take that as a compliment. So, I will warn you, these are not exact numbers, these are very rough numbers. I think I showed you the bottom. But just give you an idea of the cost savings.
I'm privy.
Well, you stopped by. so
Because I asked.
So if we did go out on our own, here are some of the things, you can kind of do a cost comparison. Like I said, these are rough. These would be negotiated salaries and things like that. You know, we're paying 20,000 right now as a part of our portion for a sped director. We'd be looking at a person with the equivalent of a superintendent license. So you're looking at a pretty large portion. We'd have to have a director. That would be required. We'd have to hire and probably hire another early childhood teacher. And you can see the difference there. We're only paying a small portion there. A coordinator, and if we had a director, we might be able to get by without a coordinator. Depends on the amount of work. But if you go down the line here, some of this stuff now, like physical therapy, we only pay for physical therapy if one of the Chisholm kids is using the physical therapy, but you can see what we're paying per year. That's what we paid, that's double what we paid first semester. So I just doubled everything to make it the equivalent of a year. So that would it's just an unknown. I wouldn't know what we would pay in the future, depending on who we had. Adaptify is DAPE, that's what we currently pay, same thing, we pay as we use it. Physically impaired teacher, we're paying a portion of that. Speech, we have our own speech, she works for the NLC, she's their employee, but we have her here. That would probably be just a similar cost to what we have now. Deaf and hard of hearing, we pay as we need it. So all that stuff, those middle ones would be kind of unknown, we'd be contracting for services. And you can kind of see we'd have to have a psych, because they're the ones that do the evaluations to determine whether a kid needs IEP services. We would have to have that person. We probably have, because of the high needs of the kids that would come back to Chisholm, we probably have to hire an additional couple of teachers. And then 5 of our kids that are over there have one-on-one pairs. We would have to hire a minimum of 5 one-on-one pairs, but probably a couple more based on the kids that are all coming back. It's not just the one-on-ones. We have other kids over there that would require pair support. So obviously the cost is obvious. To me, the bigger problem would be finding the people. Because they're currently on, well, I don't want to talk about anybody on there, but we do have people without a license, they're out of field permissions currently this year. And so we already had trouble fighting for our needs already. So that's the bigger issue to me is there's going to be a cost, but it's finding all the people. Currently, there's 4 or 5 psychologists at NLC right now, but we actually are short one, and they're basically paying somebody $100 per hour to contract for the extra needs that we have. So even the NLC is having a hard time finding people. So that's the dilemma for me. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And like I said, again, because these are rough numbers. A lot of it's just negotiated stuff where you don't know how many years of experience does a teacher have when you hire them. You just don't know. So they're just kind of down the middle as well. So.
I think the point that you're making is that finding people, if you were down in like the metro, you may be able to fill these spots, but you're not gonna find them here.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was one of the things way back in the day when, we were with the co-op and all that. We had a lot of these programs ourselves. And as time went on, it just got to be where you just couldn't do it, yeah? So, yeah, no, I get it, that's for sure.
We'd also have to increase our square footage, wouldn't we, if we had to house all these different types of services and.
Yeah, because some of the kids require a staff to student ratio that's a lot smaller than that the NLC provides that we do not provide for the most part right now. That we're not required, so there will be some staff to student ratios. That's why you have to hire more before just increasing people's caseloads. So.
But we are required to send the students or provide the service to the students if their needs.
Yeah, otherwise we risk being out of compliance with paperwork and requirements, and then that's where you can get yourself in trouble if, as a district, whether it's a lawsuit or whatever it might be. So we're not in compliance. That's why the paperwork's so important with IEPs, to make sure that we're.
So in essence, what you're saying is, because the question, I think somebody asked, why don't we convert to Von Steffens route and do this all ourselves? So the costs you have here are cost to NLC, or NLC's cost, I should say, compared to what we would have to pay is.
And that's just for the people. That's
Yeah,
not
just
for,
for the
that's not for a building. Yeah. And the NLC is not taking as much funding. And this is a really hard to understand, but they don't take all of our funding for every kid. They take a small portion. They take most of the funding for the ALC kids, and then they take a fraction of our funding for the NLC kids. So they're not taking all the funding for our kids. I don't have an exact dollar amount, because every kid's gonna be different based on what services they're requiring. But we do pay otherwise, because we do have to pay for those services.
Well, if we kept them on, that
Not
would just,
saving it.
that's gonna just totally throw all our plans off. I mean, that would,
With utilities.
I mean,
and
the
all.
only way it would work is if the NLC bought the bond. I mean, that would have been my thought, was, well, why don't they just buy the bond? But because I don't believe we should pull out. I believe that we should, still. But that's what I was thinking, instead of building a new building, is that something that would be possible? But
I think why people do cooperatives is to utilize the expensive services.
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole reason why,
definitely.
people share administration and share nurses and share things like that. And so when you're looking at the type of people, the high level of education, you need to have psychologists on staff and things like that. That's why you join a cooperative, so that you can save money and you can provide those services. Because individually, independently, not every single school district can do it.
No.
So I think that's why, when you look at it on paper, how actually affordable the NLC services are, because they have these people. I mean, just from my own experience, the court system can't find psychologists to do the things that they're required to do. So I just don't, a small town is not gonna be able to just be like, psychologists, come on out. So, and speech therapy, physical therapy, I mean, just the specialties that you need.
And we'll, Mark will have this before us in the next agenda.
Yeah, so I want to get as much information as possible, and then you have a couple of weeks to process, think about it. Because sometimes you'll have questions tomorrow or the next day, call me, if I don't have an answer, I'll try to find it for you as quickly as possible.
I think with the gentleman that came and presented to us last meeting or the meeting before, I think our biggest concern was our taxpayers, but kind of forgetting that they were already paying part of it. So now it's like
Yeah.
such a minute difference, you know.
Yeah, when you say you already were, you're
Currently already are, yeah.
paid for that service, so.
It doesn't make it feel as-
And if-
Well, and as long as we know exactly why that all worked, I mean, we don't even have to go out for a vote or anything, so as long now we have these, you know, we can explain when they're asking the questions. We can certainly explain it a lot better.
Part of the questions that I'm getting is, why are you putting money towards a building that's not in town?
Right.
However, the population does not know what the NLC does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They do not. And it's hard to explain to them what they do. Mark's right. Where are we gonna find people? And I brought up, okay, the Vaughn, let's just say it. What are you gonna staff it with?
Mhm.
You think NLC people would come over and work at the Vaughn? I don't know. It's hard to say. The timing on this sucks.
You are right.
And I agree with Mark, they have been talking about it for, several years, that the
Yes.
building was, bad shape.
The other thing too, I'd wanna throw out there, these are our Chisholm kids.
Yeah.
I know.
And we're trying to give them the best and some of the, and I'll just say that as the principal at the high school for a few years, we've sent several kids, and the last thing you wanna do is send kids to the ALC, but you also wanna send them to a place that's gonna give them the best shot of graduation.
Right,
too. So,
right.
yeah, credit
Exactly.
recovery, so we're trying to service the kids the best we can,
Bottom line.
and they are our kids too.
Mhm.
So I just try to remember that too, and I do agree, yeah, we're
Well,
building
and it's all
another town.
centrally located, that's another thing that people
You're right.
should, yeah,
Right.
that they need to understand that it's not just Chisholm kids that are going there, it's
Yeah.
all around. So that is a big reason why it's where it is.
And it's a mile closer, so we'll be saving on gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And remind me, do they need so many people to say yes before they can actually move forward with this? Or what happens if majority say yes, but 3-4 don't, then what's our tax
There's
impact?
two processes, the board is gonna give me the okay or not the okay to go forward at the NLC board meeting. So you're just gonna make a decision in 2 weeks whether or not to push me forward to say, yes, we are going forward with Chisholm as part of the NLC. And then the NLC board will make the decisions specifically for that building, if that makes sense. So the superintendents are the NLC board.
We're giving you the authority to vote.
Mhm.
And all those schools that are involved are the same, they're all on that NLC board.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, he says yes, majority of the vote says yes. But there's 3-4 districts out, now we've said yes, what's that
Oh,
tax
no.
impact look like on ours?
I believe there's one other district, they might have already said yes, but all the other districts have already moved forward. I think there's one out there that,
Yeah, I think
they
that's
had
what
their
he said
meeting last
last
week,
time,
so
yeah.
I think we are the last one.
We're the
If
ones
not, we're
that-
the second to the last one. So I can get that information by tomorrow morning, if you want, but I'm pretty sure we are the last one. So, okay.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on. Item 4, approving the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Director Rhonda Sauter,
Or
support by Director Raha. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, approving the consent agenda. These include the minutes of the February 26, 2024 regular meeting. Payrolls for the month of February 2024 in the amount of $705,560.12. And accounts payable for the month of February 2024, $793,366.57.
So wait,
Motion by Director Crowdy Simon,
Support.
support by Director Rice. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, personnel, motion to approve the hiring of Tammy Hill to job number 261, paraprofessional in the high school, effective March 4th, 2024.
So made.
Motion by Director Lappy,
Support.
support by Director Crowdy Simon.
It is a new position, new student came in, required a one-on-one.
Took the question right out of my mouth.
He's starting to read your mind now.
Anticipation. Good anticipation.
I didn't wanna cut him off.
He's reading your mind now, Mark and Mark.
I'm saying,
All those in favor,
Aye.
opposed, motion carries. Item number 7, under business. Item A, motion to adopt the resolution discontinuing and reducing the educational programs and positions. Mark, do you want to explain this a little bit?
Yeah, well, I'll explain the two here because so Sarah will be teaching .4 art. Lisa had to call MSBA, I think, and make sure that we did this exactly right. So she's still gonna have a position as .4. That's by her choice. But we do have to, and she was on out of field permissions for, this is public information, for, to teach title. So we'd have to open up that part anyway and terminate that piece of her position.
This is for item B.
For item B, yep. Item C, Christine, Mrs. Olson is out of field permissions. We are required by law to open that up too. So that's why we have to go through that. So, the other piece is what I think we talked about, the activities director position too. Eventually, we're gonna get onto that. And, being that we're not sharing services anymore, we'll cut that.
So the athletic director will be .6 or .4?
.4 is what, unless the board wants to go in another direction with that, but it's, when I did it, it was .4, when Mr. Aldrich did it, it was .4. So I was 6 years, Mr. Steinberg did it, it was .4, so
And it's all, but that's not on here yet, right? We're not,
that will be eventually.
yeah. But you have that figured out, right, what he's gonna do? He's gonna, okay.
So nobody is losing a position.
Correct.
Just being reassigned per se.
Well,
Christine.
Mrs. Olson, yeah, but it's required, so,
Mhm,
Right.
that is.
and then Mrs. Patel, but that's kind of by choice, so.
So these are 3 separate resolutions, so we'll do a roll call on item A, the motion to adopt the resolution discontinuing and reducing educational programs and positions. Roll call, please.
So we have to have a first and second and then a roll call.
I'll make the motion.
All right,
I'll second.
second was by
Shelley.
Shelley. Now, roll call.
Director Anasazi?
Yes.
Director Rice?
Yes.
Director Crowdy Simon?
Yes.
Director Lappy?
Yes.
Director Raha?
Yes.
Chair Casey?
Yes. Motion carries. Item B, motion to adopt the resolution relating to the termination and non-renewal of the teacher contract of Sarah Patel, a probationary teacher at the close of the 2023-2024 school year. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll support.
Motion by Director Raha, support by Director Crowdy Simon.
We don't have to change this, cause she's actually gonna be cleared up.
Lisa had called and made sure she was doing this right, because I was
Yeah.
questioning the same
Because right
thing,
now
so.
she is hired as a 1.0 full-time equivalent teacher. If we do not do this, she has rights to come back as a
Okay.
1.0.
Got it.
Roll call, please.
Director Anasazi?
Yes.
Director Rice?
Yes.
Director Crowdy Simon?
Yes.
Director Lappy?
Yes.
Director Raha?
Yes.
Chair Casey?
Yes. Motion carries.
But then we don't have to. do the other again.
Second was Crowdy Simon.
Yeah, she'll have a .4 position, so what she wants.
Item C, motion to adopt the resolution relating to the termination and non-renewal of the teacher contract of Christine Olson, a probationary teacher at the close of the 2023-2024 school year. I entertain a motion.
So made.
Motion by Director Rice,
Support.
support by Director Happy? Any discussion? Again, this is something that is done for those who are not, say tenured, is that correct, basically?
No, it's
working.
out of field permission, like I said, they don't have to.
So it goes on a year-to-year basis. Roll call, please.
Director Lavasada? Yes. Director Rice?
Yes.
Director Crowdy Simon?
Yes.
Director Lapi?
Yes.
Director Rao?
Yes.
Chair Casey?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 8. Any discussion by board members? Action taken at tonight's meeting or questions thereof?
Maybe announce that there's a band concert.
Band concert at 7,
Bless you.
7th through 12th.
Quite sweet.
Like Dave.
Anything else? Item 9, information, we have your March numbers in front of you. Been pretty steady the last 3 months or so, which is good. We have some coming, we have some going. With no other business before us, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So many
Support.
Motion by Director Raha, support by Director Lavasada. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Time is 5:36.